yard line, and that sets up this. Number 45, big Ruben Sevigny, 18 yards for the score, and the Tigers are up 12-0. Then the Tiger defense came through. The Stags were driving deep in Biddeford territory. Tony Aceto would cough up the ball, and number 12, Mark LeBlanc, falls on it for the Tigers, halting that rally. Fourth quarter, Biddeford up 12-6, and Sevigny will ice the game with his third touchdown of the evening. 15 yards there, 18-6 Biddeford over Chevrolet tonight in Portland. Meanwhile, across the bridge, South Portland was hosting Marshwood. Defense set the tone early, but that would change. Lightning-quick offense took over. Number 25, Burt Rich of South Portland, scampers 65 yards for the score, 7-6 Riots. Then on the final play of the first half, it's Rich again, breaking loose around the left side. Again, 65 yards for the score. He would have 3 touchdowns on the evening. South Portland rolls 29-12 over Marshwood in South Portland. So, a couple of good games in this area. Now let's head west some to Sanford High School. Lewiston and Sanford. And Frank Setson. Frank, think quick.
Once again,
Marshwood got on the board first. Brad Martin hitting Derek Ham 6-0. The 1991 champion Hawks were in the lead. But Burt Rich, the name of this game, South Portland's running back, a 60-yard run from scrimmage here that gave South Portland a 7-6 lead. They would never look back. He would add a 55-yard touchdown at the end of the first half. South Portland wins it by a final of 29-12. And it was a good night for team.
Troy Cajonian and the Lewiston line do the rest. Here he goes in 8 yards for the score. Sanford got on the board in the second half as number 21, Pat O'Brien, pushes this one across, but it wasn't enough as Lewiston held on to win 13-8.
That's all for us here in Sanford. Now let's check with Steve in Oxford.
Oh, oops. Thanks, Frank. I'll work on that toss. Our final stop of the night begins at Oxford Hills. We have the Vikings taking on those shipbuilders from Morse.
Game rushed for 252 yards, 36 of them right there on a touchdown pass, a touchdown run, as South Portland rallied by Marshwood. Quarterback Dave Cahill scored the Riots' other touchdown on this 1-yard sneak late in the fourth quarter. South Portland pulled away 29-12. In the Pine Tree Conference, Bengal.
It was South Portland doing the roaming tonight all over the field as the Red Riots hosted Westbrook. And the Riots continue to roll offensively and defensively. The D pitching a shutout tonight, stopping the Blazes every which way, on the ground and in the air. Todd Cash, number 87 in red, with the interception for South Portland, takes this one deep into Westbrook territory. And that would lead to a Josh McDonald 1-yard touchdown run, 48-0 Riots. Then the lights went out on Westbrook, literally, as 3 sets of lights went out on the Westbrook side. And that was that. The Riots big over the Blazers tonight in South Portland.
Only got 4 touchdowns. He's happy and tired. He got him too fast, though, for our campers. We couldn't catch up, but we caught up here. Third quarter, Josh McDonald scores after this interception. It's going to set up the touchdown. South Portland up in this game, 40-0 at halftime. I'm not kidding you. And then Josh takes it over from the 1. Final score ended up being 48-0. What a wild one.
3 weeks met winless Westbrook, and the Riots looked ready and up to the task. But Westbrook looked early on to have Burt Rich's number. Rich stopped here, albeit it took 3 Blazes to finally bring him down. But that was about the only time Westbrook could stop Rich. He scored 3 times in the game's first quarter, all on relatively short runs. South Portland coasted past the Blue Blazes 48-0. Across the bridge.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Are the Biddeford Tigers still the top cat? After 3 big wins, will South Portland jump to first or second? And is an undefeated record good enough for Oxford Hills to make an appearance? Tom Karen answers all these questions and tells us why more than 10 teams are involved in News Channel 13's high school football top 10 this week.
The Waterville Panthers picked up their second win of the season Friday. Sophomore quarterback Brian Scott running for 2 touchdowns and throwing for another in a 30-21 upset over Gardner. The Panthers make their initial appearance into the top 10, but but they are just one of 3 teams tied for the 10th spot. Gardner joining Waterville. Both are 2-1. Also tied for 10th is Stearns, which has outscored its opponents 114-6. Oxford Hills makes its debut in the top 10. The Vikings undefeated after 3 games. Chevers High comes in at 8th. The Stags won their 2nd straight game, shutting out Lewiston 23-0, but they slip a spot, switching places with Mountain Valley as the undefeated Falcons move up to 7th. Marshwood had no problem in a 44-14 win over Massabesic Saturday. The Hawks come in at 6th. Lawrence High cracks the top 5. The Bulldogs 3-0 after last year's 1-win season. From there, things stay the same. For the 3rd straight week, it's Mount Blue 4th, South Portland 3rd, the Thornton Academy Trojans 2nd, and Biddeford High holding on to number 1 for the 4th straight poll after a 42-6 win over Portland at Waterhouse Field. The Tigers are at Lewiston this Friday night. I'm Tom Karen, News Channel 13 Sports.
It's not away from Biddeford. Is Lawrence still around after getting bombed by Gardner? And where in the heck is Thornton Academy following its loss to Marshwood? Tom Karen answers all these questions and tells us why the top 4 is a little mixed up in News Channel 13's high school football top 10 this week.
Stearns kicks things off at the 10 spot. The Minutemen are the only Class C team in the poll this week. Gardner handed Lawrence its first loss of the year in a 26-0 shutout Friday. The Tigers knocked Lawrence out of the poll and move up a spot to 9. Waterville moves up to 8 after an overtime win at Bangor. Our first Class A West team comes in at 7. Chevres moving up a spot. Mountain Valley moved to 3-0 with a come-from-behind 18-13 win over defending champ Kennebunk. The Falcons are the top-ranked Class B team at 6. Marshwood beat Thornton 25-14. It was the Trojans' first loss of the year, and it mixes up the top 5. Thornton dropping 3 spots to 5th with the loss, while Marshwood jumps 2 spots to 4th. Mount Blue claims its highest spot of the year. The undefeated Cougars are 3rd. Burt Rich had another big night as South Portland crushed Deering 31-6. The Riots are 2nd, and Biddeford remains on top with a tough test ahead. The Tigers hosting number 4 Marshwood Friday night in our game of the week. I'm Tom Karen, News Channel 13 Sports.
And I can't.
And a great night for high school football. And in South Portland, the Red Riots hosted Massabesic. The Mustangs in green held the Riots scoreless to the first period, but a big second quarter from the Riots, courtesy of number 25, Burt Rich. 2 touchdown runs, 1 of 4 yards, and this one 99 yards for the score, and the Riots went up by a score of 16-0. The Mustangs fumbled away the ensuing kickoff, and the Riots would take advantage of it. Josh McDonald, 23 yards for the score. The Riots go to 6-0 as they knock off the Mustangs 34-6. Across the bridge.
Thanks of the undefeated hosted Massabesic. A damp, small, but enthusiastic crowd on hand at George Martin Memorial Field tonight. What some of the high school fans knew how to dress for the rain. The Riots' Burt Rich, one of the premier running backs in the state, picks up good yardage here. Massabesic coach Greg Stofan, a former South Portland High star, trying to keep his winless Mustangs fired up, and they played well in the first half. Here, Rich takes it in for the first touchdown of the game. The 2 extra points made it 8-0 South Portland. Second quarter, Massabesic had a 1st and goal from the 7, gave up the ball and downs at the 1, and Burt Rich took charge. A great hit and spin, and Rich legs it down the right sidelines, 99 yards for the score. That was the turning point in this game. The Mustangs fumbled the ensuing kickoff, and 2 plays later, the Riots strike again. Junior Josh McDonald takes it in from 35 yards out. South Portland goes on to defeat the Massabesic Mustangs by a score of 34-6. At Fitzpatrick Stadium.
South Portland's Burt Rich with the unbelievable again. Red Riots with the ball on their own 2 against Massabesic. Not for long. Never fear. Rich is here. He breaks tackle after tackle, and he rambles. He could go all the way. Yes, 98 yards for the score. 6 broken tackles, and South Portland remains undefeated with a big win. And a reminder, will all the dreams and prayers of Winthrop be answered? Is Winslow's undefeated record enough to move them into our elite? And did another big win push South Portland past Biddeford at the top? All these questions and much more to be answered in this week's edition of News Channel 13 High School Football Top 10. The wait is over for Winthrop. It took 7 weeks, but undefeated Winthrop sneaks in at 10th. Wells has been going to the well often these days. 5 straight wins, including a 34-0 trouncing of Trape, moves the Warriors up a notch. After making Mount Blue black and blue, Coney goes to 8th. No lucky number 7 this week because 2 were tied for 6th. 6-1 Lawrence and unbeaten Winslow. Call them the Marshwood Mashers. That's what they did to Deering over the weekend to stay 5th at 5-2. Gardner's 23-16 win over Bangor keeps the Tigers in the hunt. With a week to go, Gardner remains 4th. The Golden Trojans golden once again. A 27-0 shutout over Lewiston on Saturday keeps Thornton Academy 3rd. And who's number 1, you ask? In our closest vote yet, Biddeford edges South Portland to stay on top for the 7th straight week. All right. Bridge. This one, of course, the Battle of the Bridge. The second-ranked Red Riots trying to remain undefeated. Third quarter, 21-0 South Portland. Check out Joe Rangel, 20 yards in. That made it 28-zip. Packy Tobbs is going to come up with a 9-yard run here, all South Portland. It was 34-0 late in this football game. Now let's take a look at the high school football scoreboard. Westbrook stays put at 4th after barely holding off Morse in the final seconds. The Tigers, tough as nails when it counted, 27-20. Despite a heartbreaking loss to top-ranked Biddeford, Thornton Academy is still 3rd. A bulldozing of the Bulldogs wasn't enough to put South Portland over the top in our poll. The Red Riots finished the regular season second fiddle to who else? Biddeford. The Tigers come from 14 points down to win a thriller over Thornton Academy. The 2-point conversion with 30 seconds to go not only gave them another win over the Golden Trojans, but a regular season sweep at the top of our top 10. I'm Jeff Peterson, News Channel 13 Sports.
Experience something, dreams of winning a state title, that would be trimmed to 4 after tomorrow. One of those teams, second-ranked South Portland. Despite an undefeated record, the Red Riots have not received much respect at all this year. Some say their schedule was too easy. Well, whatever the case, it's South Portland and Lewiston tomorrow.
I think we definitely have a lot of potential. We have great athletes. Depends on if we come to play and execute or not.
It's tough to say. You know, we come to play every week. We do the best we can against the teams that we faced. I mean, we've won most of our games very easily.
We can play with the Marshwoods. We've proven that. We can play with Thornton Academy. We can play with Biddeford, and you know, potentially, we can win it all.
All right, Bo.
Play of the day, watch Burt Rich. One-hands it and keeps it for the interception. He's gone for the touchdown. Rich having a great season as South Portland rolls over Lewiston 42-0, the final there. On the board we go. Biddeford 30.
Look at this. EL over Thornton Academy and Cheverus over Marshwood in overtime. That sets up EL at Biddeford and Cheverus at South Portland next week.
In the first round of the Western Maine playoffs today, number 5, Edward Little, traveling to Saco and pouring it on against Thornton. Let's check out some highlights. Brady Dearborn will hit John Gauthier here for the 34-yard touchdown to make it a 10-0 lead. The Eddies never trailed. Gauthier getting his second touchdown of the game from defense, picking up the fumble and running it in. The Eddies move on to the Western semis with a 29-22 win. No upset across the river in Biddeford. Ruben 70 used the straight-ahead stand-up power as the top-seeded Tigers remain unbeaten with a 34-0 win over Deering at Waterhouse Field. And there is one other undefeated Class A team in the state. South Portland taking on Lewiston today. South Portland's play of the day. Burt Rich, watch it, the one-handed interception. He's gone for the touchdown. The Riots beat Lewiston 42-20. Moving on to the Final Four on the scoreboard. Biddeford and South Portland, as we said, they're both 9-0 now. And the upset, Cheverus beating Marshwood, which was ranked 5th in our latest News Channel 13 poll, 29-23 in overtime. And third-ranked Thornton Academy is sent packing by 7. In there, Old Orchard winning it 36-14. And
Great times at the top. Was an upset of Thornton Academy enough for Edward Little to creep in. And will an undefeated record put Winthrop back with our chosen few? Tom Caron answers all these questions and more on our News Channel 13 High School Football Top 10.
We start with a tie. Winthrop is undefeated in Class B, while Waterville is ready for the Eastern A playoffs. Both teams come in at 9th. There's another tie at the 7th spot. Edward Little upset Thornton Academy in the Western A playoffs on Saturday. The Eddies and Trojans share the 7th place spot. Gardner was upset by Coney in the East. The last game of the regular season, the Tigers fall 2 spots to number 6. The top 5 begins with undefeated Winslow. The Raiders move up 2 spots Coney jumps to 4th after its win against Gardner. Lawrence is the top-ranked Eastern team at number 3. And the top 2, well, same as it ever was. South Portland is 2nd, while the Biddeford Tigers opened up their playoffs with a win over Deering, stay atop the News Channel 13 high school football poll. I've talked
last week that stood above all the rest in high school sports. Yes, the one we think was so spectacular that it deserves a high five. For the 3rd time this year, South Portland's Burt Rich gets our high five. Most of the time it's on offense. Well, here he is on defense. During Saturday's win over Lewiston, Lookmaw one hand, and Lookmaw all the way for a touchdown. Rich, the Red Riot robber with the interception. He returns it all the way for a touchdown, and he gets our high five. And the American League Rookie of the Year announced today.
The quick opener and turns it into a touchdown. Second period, the Riots drive 97 yards for a score. Burt Rich sweeps it in on 4th down and 4. South Portland advances to the Western Maine Final with a 21-0 win over Cheverus. They will play Biddeford to advance to the finals against Coney. Coney beats the defending conference champion 14-6. So it's Coney and
Here we go. And that was Darren Davis right there with a big sack of Scott Caron. And there's Ken Harvey, the Red Riot quarterback, going in from a yard out. And the Rich brothers would tag on a couple of interceptions themselves, picking off Caron. And South Portland wins it over Cheverus by a score of 21-7. So here is the matchup for next week. The Western A final, South Portland at Biddeford, and in the Eastern A final.
Riots control it throughout. It's 21-0 win. In the East, defending champ Gardner was at Coney. Gardner's Jim Inabinet will take the pitch and go in for the touchdown. Run the Ram.
takes on South Portland in what should be a classic high school football game. With 10 wins under their belts, the South Portland Riots are flexing their muscles and showing their bravado. They led the league in scoring, and their defense has given up just 5 points a game.
I think it's the dedication and the hard work that we put into the weight room, weights, you know, as far as weights go. And then as soon as the warm weather came, we put a lot of time and energy into getting cardiovascular, you know, in shape that way.
I think one of the great things is we have tremendous chemistry on our team. The kids work together well, and we have a concept we call synergy. And we work together so the end product is greater than the sum of the parts. And we've got a real fine football team, and we've got some excellent athletes, but we also have fine chemistry.
But South Portland's stats don't carry a lot of weight down here in Biddeford, where Tiger fans point out that South Portland didn't play Biddeford, Thornton Academy, or Edward Little, three of the best teams in Western Maine. And they go on to say that if South Portland can come to Biddeford and beat Biddeford, well, the Riots then deserve to be in a state game. But Biddeford has been slow getting out of the gate this season. 3 times they scored narrow, come-from-behind victories, a trend which is dangerous.
I think you prepare one game at a time, one practice at a time, and you go out and do your job. And the team that, as far as I'm concerned, the team that makes the fewest mistakes wins in the big games.
A comparison of scores seems to favor South Portland. But down here in Biddeford, they say, they're the champs till somebody beats them.
Okay, game designed for Biddeford. A hard-nosed, physical matchup at Waterhouse Field. And the Tigers love the fact they are playing at home.
There's no other field like Waterhouse, only because the fans are so close, they almost participate in the game. They're so close to the field.
I really think that the fans and the atmosphere and our kids play well at home for the most part.
The Tigers are the cardiac kids. Twice in the last 3 weeks, they've come back late in the game. But this week, they realize what they have to do early.
We have to get off to a quick start. Our defense has got to set the tone because if that, like a Burt Rich can break at any time, and we can't get down like that against like EL.
No doubt about it, this is an evenly matched football game. But I think Biddeford has a little more depth, and they are a little more balanced. And I like the fact they're playing at Waterhouse Field. Steve?
Sorry, Norm, but tomorrow South Portland will burst Biddeford's bubble. As for that home field advantage, forget it. South Portland will have plenty of fans making plenty of noise.
I think it's going to be about equal with fans. We have a lot of people going down, a lot of support behind us. And when it comes down to it, you really don't notice the crowd on the field anyway.
One thing you will notice, South Portland's tenacious defense. Already this year, it's recorded 5 shutouts.
Big concern is big plays. We haven't given up many big plays all season.
And Biddeford, beware. You fall behind early to this team, it won't let you back in. South Portland will take the lead and pound it right down your throat.
Not sitting on the lead, just keep going and pound away, because as they prove, they can come back in the third and fourth quarter. They never get down.
And finally, Norm, 92 is just South Portland's year. First basketball, and next football.
It's just part of the community and part of the tradition of South Portland, and we're just part of that. We've got a great sports program.
All ranks are concerned. During that time, South Portland has won 8 Western Maine titles, but are 0 for 8 in the state title game. On the other hand, the Biddeford Tigers have won 7 state championships. The stats lean a little towards South Portland. They scored 356 points in their 10 games and allowed just 50. Biddeford scored 351 points in their 10 wins. They've allowed 106 points. But they had a little tougher schedule, so stats probably mean nothing. Each team has a Fitzpatrick Award contender, Reuben Sevigny from Biddeford, Bert Rich from South Portland. Biddeford needs this win in the West for a shot at their 3rd consecutive state title, something that has never been done in the Class A ranks. But in South Portland, they'll be facing a very hungry and a very talented team that has not been to the state championship game since 1983.
The biggest game of the day is in Class A West, South Portland at Biddeford. You know, the Tigers are 2-time defending state champs, while the Riots have never won it all. This one should be a classic. Vince Lombardi once said, offense wins games, defense wins championships. Now everyone knows the South Portland Red Riots can score. Bert Rich and company have put 356 points up on the scoreboard this season. But to beat the Biddeford Tigers tomorrow, they need a big day from the Big D.
Well, defense is a constant. If you play good defense, you know you're going to be in every game. And we've been in every game this year, and our defense has kind of dictated some things for us, created a lot of turnovers, been real sound, got good field position, things like that. And I think that defense is going to be a real key. We're going to have to play field position and make Biddeford earn the field. And like I said, I don't think we can stop their offense, but we have to contain it and see if we can control their offense.
No, I think we're better. I think if we lose, we're beating ourselves. We're not gonna lose to them, because I don't think they're any better.
Rich may not think so, but many football pundits say the Tigers' 10-0 record is more impressive than South Portland's. But that's on paper. Football, as everyone knows, is played on grass. And this gridiron matchup should be a dandy.
They've said that Biddeford's played a tougher schedule, but we played just as tough. Played Lewiston, then we played Sheriff. We shut Sheriff out. Sheriff beat Thornton. Thornton came close to beating Biddeford. So we can do it.
We'll know tomorrow.
Class A final. It's #1 Biddeford and #2 South Portland. Both teams are undefeated, no doubt, raring to go at each other.
Should be a great matchup. Biddeford's an excellent football team, and so are we. I think it's, for Class A West, it's going to be a great situation.
And I think it's their defense against our offense and who's going to come out on top at the end of the game. There's no question about that.
What a game today. Yep, just exactly as it was billed. South Portland, Biddeford 10-0. But perhaps South Portland had a little more to prove, and to prove it, they went down to Biddeford to play the outstanding program in the state on their field. That was no problem for Bert Rich. He did this all afternoon. He's gone 5, 10, 15, 20. Look at him go. No one's going to catch him. An unbelievable game, more than 300 yards rushing for Bert Rich. South Portland leads 7-0. But Biddeford comes right back. Jason Tremblay up top to Sean Walton. Watch this catch and run. Bam, he's gone. And big plays kept Biddeford in it in the first half. They had 2 in the first half like that. After South Portland scores again, Steve Tardif, who's just a sophomore, will return the kick. South Portland leading 14-7. Look at this inside-out move. Boom, he's got a blocker, and he's gone. Down the sideline, all the way, it's 14-14. And this went on all afternoon. Rich again. It's South Portland's turn. This time he breaks a couple of tackles, and he's gone. Touchdown South Portland. They stop a Biddeford drive before half to lead 21-14. But Biddeford opens the second half. Reuben Sevigny goes in 21-22 when Biddeford goes for 2 and gets it. They would score again to lead 21-21. Look who it is. Quick opener. Bert Rich is gone. They would go for two, not make it. Biddeford still leads 29-27, but South Portland would rally. This is Darren Inverso with a one-handed catch. He's another one of those South Portland football players. South Portland takes the lead 33-29 after Biddeford comes back to lead 35-33. South Portland with a quick little square out, 41-35, 36, one of the most exciting high school football games ever played. South Portland becomes the first team to beat Biddeford in 3 years, and they advance to the state game.
It came down to where the ball last, really, and we just played super. Our offensive line was outstanding. Burt Rich was outstanding. Brian Harvey played a great game. We just made so many big plays, and they're a great football team.
There was a lot of mountains and plateaus where you go down and then you go up, and it took a lot of character to come back and keep the poise.
There's character in Class A looked like the Old West. Biddeford and South Portland matched up in a shootout for all time, and when the dust had settled, South Portland was headed to the state championship after a 41-35 win before 10,000 fans in Biddeford. Everyone at Waterhouse Field knew you had to stop Burt Rich to stop South Portland. Biddeford knew it, but couldn't. Rich had over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half alone as the Riots opened up a 21-14 halftime lead. While Rich was the quick strike threat, Biddeford settled down to a ball control game in the second half. Grady Beaulieu's 2-yard touchdown run gave the Tigers their first lead at 29-21. But on the next play from scrimmage, Burt Rich's stats got richer. A 61-yard touchdown run brought the Riots back within 2. Rich would finish the day with 341 yards and 5 touchdowns.
If there was a better player in the state, I haven't seen him. He just played unbelievable football. You know, he wasn't going to get beaten. Our offensive line came off the ball. We ran some play-action pass. Burt showed how good a back he is.
In the fourth, South Portland finally got a touchdown from someone else. Brian Harvey hit Burt's brother Mike Rich from 15 yards out. A 2-point conversion made it 41-36 Riots. A shootout like this seemed destined to go to the team with the ball last. Biddeford was driving, but with 2 minutes left, Jason Tremblay on a 4th and 3 was stopped by Todd Cash, making South Portland the Western A champs.
I got up and I saw him cut in and I stuck him.
What'd you think at that point?
I was no words. I was just so excited. I knew we won right there.
So South Portland's season now heads to Brunswick, where the Riots will look for their first state championship. Biddeford's season ends 1 game shy of a shot at a 3rd straight state championship.
We scored enough points to win a football game today. We didn't play defense. Simple, pure and simple as far as I'm concerned. I don't make excuses, and that's it. We were lousy on defense, and they were good on offense.
And the offense wins. South Portland will take on Lawrence in another great game. Lawrence trailed 18-0 in the Eastern A final. Jared Libby started the comeback with a touchdown run. That made it 18-13, and then with less than 2 minutes to go, Lawrence trailing the ball goes to Libby again. He gets the game-winning touchdown. Lawrence wins it 19-18. The Dogs and Riots go at it at Bowdoin College next week.
Western Maine Class A. South Portland and Lawrence scrimmaged in August, and it came out pretty even. Next week, they'll play again for the state Class A championship, as both came from behind in the 4th quarter to win thrillers today. The day in Biddeford belongs to Burt Rich. He put South Portland in the lead with his first run for a touchdown in the 1st period. Then with the game tied at 14, he's off again. The Red Riots lead Biddeford 21-14 at halftime. In the second half, Biddeford tries to...
Teams came into the game at 10-0, and what an offensive showcase. 77 points and 840 yards of total offense combined, most of it coming from South Portland's Burt Rich. South Portland wins 41-36. Let's go down to Waterhouse Field with the Riots all pumped up, and there's Mike Landry and the boys, and check these guys out. They're pretty happy the SATs are over, I guess. Second quarter, Burt Rich are on the left side from 16 yards with 7:31 left. And South Portland up by a score of 14-7. On the ensuing kickoff, Steve Tardif, number 23 for Biddeford right there. Only a sophomore, 77 yards. Look at the speed right there. Did I mention he's only a sophomore? That's right, 14-14. Later, David Cahill would pick off a Jason Tremblay pass, and that would lead to this. Burt Rich, 47 yards. He had 3 touchdowns and 200 yards in the first half alone. South Portland, 21-14 in the first half. In the second half, John Wolfgram saw the Tigers get off to a quick start, and Ruben Sevigny, the big barreling fullback, 6'2" and 225, barrels in from 11 yards out. Biddeford up 22-21. Biddeford up the ante to 29-21, but back came Burt Rich. A big, gaping hole flying through the secondary. 376 yards and 5 TDs on the day for Rich. 29-27, Biddeford after 3. Another Rich touchdown made it 35-29 South Portland, but back came the Tigers. Jason Tremblay made it 36-35 with the 2-point conversion. Next series, back came South Portland. Brian Harvey, number 44. Darren Davis, his tight end. A gain of 48 down to the 15-yard line. Next play, Harvey would roll out and would hit Rich. Mike Rich, that is. And Mike, hang on to the ball. There you go. South Portland 41 and Biddeford 36. 2:03 left. 4th and 3. And the Riot defense holds Tremblay and the Tigers. And they win it by a score of 41-36. And after the game, Rich credited his offensive line.
I knew they can do it, but it's just a matter of when they would or not, and they did today, and I haven't had a chance to congratulate them yet, but they really own the game.
Never let down, no matter what the situation is. We would be down, and we'll just get right back up because it's just we thrive on being down.
We just kept coming at them, and it was a super football game. I can't imagine a high school football game being better than that. It was just a great game.
So, next week, South Portland and Lawrence at Bowdoin College as Lawrence knocks off Coney today by a score of 19-8.
This weekend, in regional finals last week, South Portland beat Biddeford 41-36 to take home the Class A Western Division title and improve to 11-0.
Well, the Class A title game will feature the undefeated South Portland Red Riot against the once-defeated Lawrence Bulldogs. With us live in our newsroom is the coach of the Riots, John Wolfgram. John, you've got a tough act to follow. Actually, it's your own act. Last weekend's game against the Biddeford Tigers still has people buzzing. Have you even been ever been involved in a game like that one before?
Bruce, that was an extremely exciting football game, and it went back and forth the whole game. I don't think I've ever been in a game so exciting as that, and it was really tough to concentrate for 48 minutes.
How tough was it in practice this week to make your kids forget about that game and start focusing in on Lawrence?
It really wasn't that tough. Well, we decided on Monday that we're going to put it behind us very quickly, and we watched the videotape on Monday afternoon. After that, we've been tunneling in on Lawrence all week, and it really wasn't that difficult putting the game behind us.
One last question, John. Was it easier for you to prepare for Lawrence? I mean, you're a former Pine Tree Conference coach, and I kind of consider your offense almost Pine Tree Conference offense. So was it easier for you to get prepared for Lawrence?
I think we certainly know Lawrence pretty well. I've coached against Pete several times, and I understand his philosophy, and I think he understands ours also. So it might be a little easier, but I think that they have the same advantage because Pete knows what we like to do offensively and defensively. So I don't think there's any advantage either way.
All right, John, thanks an awful lot. And you might want to stick around later in the show. Bob Elliott takes a look at the Class A game as only Bob Elliott can. That's South Portland.
Burt Rich. That's the game plan for Lawrence in tomorrow's Class A final football game. So the Red Riots are digging in for an old-fashioned ball control ground assault.
We know that they're a power football team, and they like to drive the ball down our they're going to want to drive the ball down our throat, and they're just going to keep on coming at us. They don't care if they don't throw the ball at all once per game. You know, they'll just keep on running and running and running, and you know, that's the way they play up there, and we respect that. And they play football, and we're gonna try to match that with them.
Both teams going for their first state title. Game time is 1 o'clock tomorrow in Brunswick. Class.
Oh, it was just great. Coming from behind like that, 18-0, it was just everybody stayed together and played hard and nobody gave up. It was just a great feeling to come out on top after that game.
But that was then, and this is now. For the Bulldogs, it's time to forge into the future, not ponder in the past, because South Portland is next.
We understand a little bit about them, and we think that we can play with them. We hope that we represent the East, and that we don't embarrass anybody, but we think that we're going to go down to Bowdoin and play hard.
While Lawrence is coming off a big comfort behind win over Coney, South Portland is coming off what many say was the best high school football game ever played in Maine. So after that big win over Biddeford, how do you get up for a state championship game? For the Red Riots, no problem.
Biddeford seems like it was a decade ago to us now. It really does. We haven't even considered Biddeford for 5 days now, 4 or 5 days, and we feel we're prepared very, very well for Lawrence, and that's obviously a concern to them all.
And the Red Riots are a little concerned about a team they know virtually nothing about.
we just kind of play our own game, you know, and mix it up, everything we have, you know, show a little bit of everything and try to put a couple in the end zone.
And that's something the Red Riots have failed to do in past state championship games. You see, 8 times South Portland has been to the big dance, and 8 times the Red Riots haven't danced.
Around the locker room, even before the season, there was a lot of talk about, like, the format for the playoffs started in '67, but the last time we even, like, considered to take states was '52. And there's a lot of talk like that. I guess there's a lot of pressure.
Should be a dandy. Also going on tomorrow, Wells and Win.
News Center's Bob Elliott is so excited about the game that he's already gone up to Bowdoin College to make sure he gets a seat. You see, as far as Bob is concerned, watching high school football is a lot better than watching the pros.
If you didn't see South Portland beat Biddeford last week, you missed one of the best high school football games of all time. Sports the way it was meant to be before things got so out of whack.
Here's the problem. According to the dictionary, an athlete is supposed to be a person with natural aptitudes for physical games and exercise. It doesn't say a thing about money, contracts, or sneaker endorsements. Probably should. That seems to be what sports is all about these days.
But fortunately, we've still got high school ball. These kids aren't thinking about dollar signs. All they're thinking about is beating Lawrence in the state title. In fact, that's all the whole school's thinking about. And trust me, if the Riots win, a guy by the name of Burt Rich will have a lot to do with it. He's used to this kind of pressure. Last year, he came off the bench to win the state basketball championship, and now he's tearing up the gridiron. Huck Finn gone wild. Look at that kid go. Most of these players are too small to play at the college level, and the state final will probably be their last game. Not a bad way to go, if you ask me. So if you're tired of the Patriots, the NFL, and all those million-dollar prima donnas, you ought to come up to Bowdoin College tomorrow afternoon and see a real football game. Me? I don't even care who wins. I'm a big fan. Yeah, right.
Sports. Tomorrow, 3 state football champions will be crowned. In Class B, Wells against Winslow. Class C, Livermore Falls against Stearns. And in Class A, the big one, South Portland against Lawrence. In last week's Western Maine Class A final, Burt Rich ran wild. Nearly 400 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns against a very good Biddeford team. Sure, Rich is the best runner in the state, but he knows who to thank, his offensive line.
I got to give my credit to the line anyways, because they've done such a great job. Half the yardage I get, I even won that. I don't even get touched because of the holes.
Yeah, well, he's definitely an excellent back, no doubt about that. He has a lot of talent, and but our offensive line is definitely very dominant. I think we come off the ball. I don't think we're an outstandingly big line, but we really come off the ball real hard and real quick.
Now you have to go check out one of these games. Fall high school season is over. Go to one of the games. Turning
14-6 over Wells in the B game, and Stearns over Livermore Falls 20-0 in the C game. Elsewhere, Miami knocks off Syracuse 16-10.
Today they could muster just 1 touchdown. Now, although Lawrence controls the ball, South Portland gets the big play. Brian Harvey to Burt Rich for a 53-yard touchdown. 6-0 lead.
Well, it's a play when I was supposed to hit him quick, about 5 yards downfield, and he beat the guy, the cornerback, and I just laid it up for him, and that was that.
You went and got it?
Yeah. I think it was somewhat of a lucky play because it was a deep pass, and I think the cornerback slipped on it. And that's why it was so wide open.
Lawrence had all kinds of chances, but Mike Rich recovers to get a finger on this pass, and the Bulldogs lost a great opportunity with the game's only turnover.
Defense made the day. You know, defense is just outstanding and made the big play, the big pass to Burt, which is great. Last week was a different ball game. This week it was a muscle tussle. We'll take it any way we can. It's the goal ball.
Today's a bitter pill. We had so many chances today. Pine Tree Conference can play football. A lot of people down here don't believe it, but we can play football. And I'd like to see us come down here some year and break the ice. It's just frustrating for the conference, for Eastern Maine, not to come down here and win when we got a chance.
South Portland had lost its first 8 appearances in the state Class A championship game. Now in Class B, Winslow breaks one.
The Riots had been to the championship game 8 times over the last 25 years. They had lost every one of those games. So forgive the folks of South Portland if they are celebrating a bit tonight. The monkey is off their backs thanks to a tough 6-0 championship win over Lawrence today in Brunswick. The mud and a tough Lawrence defense made sure South Portland's Burt Rich wouldn't repeat his 5-touchdown performance of a week ago. The Bulldogs' straight-ahead offense worked well in the muck. Jared Libby took it up the gut for 170 hard-earned yards. But the Dogs sputtered in the red zone. In the first half, they got it to the 10-yard line twice, but came away empty. And there were no points on the board at the half.
We really didn't have the ball in the first half. They drove out the whole first half. They were the big team. They definitely had the advantage on the wet ground, but we just played hard inside the 10 and put it to them.
South Portland quarterback Brian Harvey didn't complete a pass until the second half, but he completed the biggest one of his season in the third quarter, hitting Burt Rich and letting Rich do the rest for a 52-yard strike and a 6-0 Riots lead. Lawrence continued to get close, but not close enough. In the fourth, Kelly Dyer went for Alan Richards in the end zone, but the throw was deep, and the Riots kept the lead. The Dogs got a final chance. With just over 4 minutes to go, the ball again went to Libby, but this time he fumbled, and 6 points was enough for a state championship. Burt Rich may not have had the game he wanted, but in the end, the Red Riots got exactly what they wanted. Their first Class A gold ball ever.
I think it's going to bring back a lot of pride that that went away within the last 10 years, and hopefully it'll bring up the sports program.
We'll take it any way we can get it. It was a completely different ball game. This track is just mud. It's all mud. It's hard to run anything on this thing, but we'll just take 6-0. We'll take 2-0. It was a great win for us.
In Class B,
and now the moment you've all been waiting for. Who is in and who is out? One last time to put a wrap on this football season, our postseason edition of News Channel 13's High School Football Top 10. After a super end of the season and a spot in the Class C title game, Livermore earns a tie for 10th with Gardner. Thornton Academy finished 1992 on a downer, but 9th in our poll. Edward Little came up big in the playoffs, knocking off the Golden Trojans and almost upsetting Bedford in the Western semis. The Red Eddies are 8th. Wells finishes in the lucky number 7 spot after going all the way to the Class B state championship game. A 20-0 win over Livermore gave Stearns a Class C title. That was good enough for 6th in our poll. Coney finishes the season as one of the top 4 teams in the East and the 5th-ranked team in the state. The Black Raiders made it a black and blue year for their opponents. Winslow was one of only 2 undefeated teams in the state. The Black Raiders won the gold ball in Class B and ended up in 4th. Lawrence made it to the big game in Class A and came up short again. The Bulldogs are 3rd. Biddeford saw its dream of a 3rd straight title end when they lost a heartbreaker to South Portland in the Western Class A semis. The Tigers are 2nd. And our number 1 team for 1992, after being 2nd to Biddeford all season long, South Portland is finally at the top. The Red Riots now have a gold ball and a News Channel 13 Top 10 championship to brag about.
It goes to the premier Class A player in the state. Last night, the Fitzpatrick was handed out as families, friends, and coaches crammed the room to see who would be the winner. The people up for it were these 3. Chris Whalen of Gardner, perhaps the top college prospect in the room. Burt Rich, who ran South Portland to the state title. He had a terrific year. And the 3rd man in the running, Jared Libby of Lawrence, another top college prospect. Each of these guys was squirming when the announcement was made.
Award to Burt Rich, South Portland High School.
It's been a dream season for Rich. The Red Riots never lost a game all year, and they won the state championship after 7 straight losses in the championship game. Rich has not yet made any plans for college. It'll be
is CBS.